welcome to another installment of the Fragments of Silicon Review. Right, I'm just going to assume that most people watching this are probably going to be, like a day or two because we are broadcasting this on Super Bowl night. Um, with that in mind, we've got three reviews, one impressions, because every so often an early access game slips through the cracks. Um, and that's what we got up first. We have a cartoony boxing game called Billion. Since Twilight, like the last one of these we did, which is a weird sentence to say, but it happened. He got assigned this. So take it away, Twilight.
All right. So yeah, this is a goofy boxing game where you play as a race of alien-like creatures in a futuristic setting called Squandos. I think is what they're supposed to be called. They're apparently incredibly tough with a healing factor, apparently, because they can recover from injuries within like a few hours. But they're not exactly strong, though, but strong enough apparently to knock each other around and such. But anyway, yeah, Billion Beats is basically like Punch Out or any boxing games like it, like the one I reviewed last year, of course. And yeah, the gameplay is you can punch high or low, and along with a super powered punch and such against an opponent within like 3 rounds. To get more precise on things here, yeah, the gameplay is obviously you're gonna punch your opponent in the body or the head, and the main thing here with the battle here is you're not. I'm kind of rambling here, actually. Okay. Um, yeah, you can punch your opponent in the body or head, and you do this for 3 rounds, knocking their health out. And um, oddly enough, there's no there's no like stamina sort of thing, which I'm kind of familiar with some other punch out like games. You actually have to go to 3 rounds, unlike with some other games where if you do enough damage to your opponent, you don't have to go all rounds with them. However many there is in these other games, I'm thinking of here. But yeah, you can of course do combos, which the game actually kind of grades you on in terms of score as well as how well you fight. The golden rule of combat here is to not button mash. There are consequences for that. You can actually enter your character's hands um, um, by doing that. Whichever hand gets injured, or if both, you have to wait for about roughly 10 seconds from recover. Um, it's usually best to dodge and punch, then punch, if your punches just make it through the opponent's defenses. However, you can counter their attacks before they can hit you, if you manage to do so. Um, your options besides the high and low punches, you can also a super powered punch, a haymaker like move that takes a bit of time to charge before you can throw it, and it of course does extra damage. Um, but there's also a hyper punch you can do, but this thing is more for points for hype um, than actually useful. It's actually kind of weak, but it's a handy pull off at certain points in the fight to gain more hype and therefore gain more money to spend on some things outside the battles. I'll get to that a little bit later here. Um, the fights themselves, they can get pretty interesting at times. You of course start off with your basic glass chin Joe type opponent, but as you progress through the game, um, you get to find some more and more interesting opponents. Like the second guy I can see here, I forget his name, Punkio or something like that. Some of these guys like him here will actually pull weapons out on you as the fights progress, making these
because boxing video games that are not simulation often have very few players that actually follow the rules of boxing.
they're not even wearing gloves, so this is more of for so these fights are more like bare knuckle brawls most of the time than actual boxing.
Then again, I don't know, maybe animated stripy tunes have different boxing league rules.
Yeah, quite clearly here in this case. Yeah, some of these guys will pull weapons out on you that will do a lot of damage to you. Um, some of them don't even use fists. Um, some of them actually have claws that they'll use on you instead. Though those guys are far and few between though. And some have a require a bit more thought to put into how you fight them as well. Um, in some cases, some of them you can even do body blows to. You have to actually hit them in the head because trying to punch them in a solar plex will enter your hand instead. There's one particular opponent later on who was really annoying to fight. There's a bit more to him than that, but I'll leave that out. Why? Um, but yeah, the characters themselves also for what personality they're given are quite interesting. Uh, with some interesting designs as well. Some of these guys can look a little samey, but some of them have some of the later ones actually have some drastically different designs from the early on characters. They get more and more. Well, some get more and more alien looking than the others. Somewhat more monstrous too. Um, and yeah, let's see here. And I would say that some of these characters, how do I put it? Not really sure where I was going to go with that there actually. Anyway, that's more of the gameplay itself. Um, there are two different modes. One's the story mode and the arcade mode. As for the story, I'll get to that right now. It's fairly simple. Your character, he doesn't really have a name, but I forgot what they call him here. It's like it's like ugly ass face or something like that. This game's got a lot of foul language, so obviously it's not for kids. But his family was terrorized by some rich guy and who wants him to fight in this billion beats tournament, and I apparently he's going. He decided to go in, get in, participate to get back at him or something like that. But he had a fairly angry reaction to the whole thing. There's a whole lot to the story there. It's pretty simple. And here he teams up with a coach. there's like 3 different ones you can actually choose from. Each has their pros and cons. There's like one of them's called Baby T, this little green guy with squid-like arms. There's Chili D, little blue dinosaur like creature, and I thought the other one is some pink thing. But yeah, and he goes through these. Then you got your characters go through all these 3 tiers of this competition, and Billion Beats being the last one that you go into, being the obviously much more hardest, much more most difficult of the 3 tiers. Um, Besides the storyline element, the thing that separates the 2 modes is you have some additional stuff you can do in the story mode. With each match you win, your character's hands can actually gain experience points that you can and they can use in the well gain experience in with each level you gain. You get a point that you can use on your hands in the locker room. And there's like 4 or 5 different trees for your for each hand that you can put a point into. There's one for normal punches, and there's another one for charge punches. There's another for counters, and one for hyper moves, and and yeah, these points you can put in these trees, of course, improves each of those pretty much the damage output of each of these types of moves or punches. um, Another option in the story mode you can use is it's one for these energy drinks called, I think they're called Drax, if I remember correctly. These are items items you can use during your matches. Each of them's There's different kinds, and each of them has their benefits. Obviously, one of them can um, recover your health because whenever you get knocked down or lose a round, you only gain back like half your health. You can use the health recovery tracks to restore your health to full, if you can. Um, Apparently, the benefits of the Drax is determined how much you can get, how you can much you can drink before you get interrupted in the process. Um, it's best used. They're best used between rounds while your opponent's recovering. But you can try to use it at any time during the match if you wish. Some of the other benefits is like you can actually recover a round. I'm not sure how that work. That's supposed to work, but you can. You can also gain like a strength boosts. There's some status effects in this game as well. There's like poison. There's a Drax for that. Those there's some other ones as well, but I don't remember what each of them does. But you can actually get lose points for using Drax. You're constantly told by your coach that using Drax is for wimps. um, so I did actually do my best to stave off of using Drax myself, and at least as far as I got all the way to the Billion Beats tier of the of the tournaments, and I managed to do that well without using them myself. Um, the other options in the story mode is there's a one for getting acquiring advice from your coach, which you have to pay for with the currency you gain with your wins. I personally did not find any of them particularly helpful. I mean, some nice little reminders here and there, but otherwise, yeah, personally, I didn't really find them all that to be all that useful. Um, another option is the library, which you can gain some little more story on each of the fighters. You unlock more and more of a story with each time you fight them and win against them. Apparently, like um, when I did check each time I checked the library, there was like a percentage of how much the story was unlocked. Seemed to be determined by how many times I won a match against them. Um, of course, this could be also be affected by the missions during the fight as well. That's something I almost forgot to mention. There's some objectives you can complete during your matches. Gain so many combos in one seamless attempt without being interrupted by a block. Um, um, that you can um, ah, that you can complete. Another objective is like dodging to the right so many times, or managing to get a charged punch during this special move the opponent can uses against you, um, and so on and so forth. You manage to complete these, you get a higher score from your matches, and as well as gaining um, some more experience as well. And then last, there's the option for upgrading to a cyborg, but apparently this is I'm not sure if it's something you can unlock. I haven't, if you can, I haven't been able to do so yet. I'm assuming since this game's in early access, it's not hasn't been implemented yet. Um, so I can't really say anything on this cyborg upgrade option. So yeah, between the story mode and arcade, that's really about the only difference between them. The arcade mode is basically just a straightforward boxing game where you fight opponent after opponent um, while being scored for your how quickly you can defeat your opponent and how well you do against them. There's no dialogue or anything like that. Just straightforward fighting. So yeah, overall it's interesting. I mean, gameplay wise, is an interesting game. Plenty of fun. As well with all the interesting characters and surprisingly difficult at times as well. With each of the opponents have their own interesting style of fighting. Some opponents actually get surprisingly annoying to fight sometimes, and and some more legitimately interesting to fight as well in terms of difficulty. But it seems most of them just flat out annoying more so. But it's still fun, at least for me. and all the attempts to complete the objectives makes things more interesting as well. And so I can get more experience out of the fights to upgrade my character, which you can actually surprisingly max out your character's fist pretty quickly. I actually managed to max out my character's right hand in the first tier while working on the left one. Kind of amusing how actually being a righty, how quickly that happened. um, so for the visuals, definitely some interesting character design here. Not saying it's bad actually. I actually kind of warmed up to the art style and the design of the characters while playing the game. It's an interesting fighting as some different race of creature, the Squandos. Um, it makes it definitely makes for fighting some more interesting fighters later on. The diverse different designs of the fighters. So that was nice. It definitely made the experience much more different from other boxing games I've played. Uh, it's also quite colorful as well. As you'll notice in the video here, and during the menu options, there you can see very how colorful the boxing arena is. There was a word I had in mind here, but I can't think of it now. But it's at least there. The visuals are loud, I guess you could say. I also did like how between rounds and the opponent fighters animations were similar to that of the old Punch Out games from the NES. How they move um, back and forth between rounds, kind of mimic that. So I kind of like that. Otherwise, the animations for the attacks for both your character and them are quite smooth. um, yeah, it's actually and the design for some of the other characters that appear in the game, like the coaches, or actually did like actually I liked Chili D's design, the little dinosaur. I liked it the best between the three coaches you could choose. The others were actually, in my opinion, downright ugly. Well, I guess Baby T was actually kind of endearing in a way. Um, well, I'm just kind of rambling on the visuals there. The music, um, uh, I'm not really sure what genre this music is going for. Some of it kind of sound like hip hop. I really can't say for sure though. But there were some other styles of music I actually quite liked. Some pretty energetic at times, though there were some interesting choices here and there. Some having much more serene feeling to them, much more calm, mellow. Um, can't say it actually fits the opponent. The one in I have in mind was apparently something of like he's supposed to be like a pirate or something like that. Not really sure if that really worked for him, but some of the other ones, I would say, were fitting. Um, otherwise, yeah, there's, some good choices. Well, some good music that works. Can't say I really remembered all of them all that well. As per usual, they do complement the fight, but I can't really say much else beyond that. Um, in terms of sound audio, I can't really say whether the sound effects for the fights were good or bad. They actually do work. Um, not really much else I can say on that. So there's no voice acting in this game, but the characters do make sounds. Um, uh, before the fights begin, and during the fights, whenever they get ready to use a special move against you, they do make this angry alien noise at you. Um, this screeching sound. Um, um, though there is at least one I know of that actually makes it much more, not so much a screech, more like a growling sound. And the screeching sound, I have to say, is actually really amusing. Um, otherwise, the only other vocal sound that you'll be hearing from the characters is from the coaches. At least what I can tell you that the ones I've actually heard from Baby T and Chili D, they make these grunting like noises. Well, Chili D actually makes something more like a more akin to a growling noise than a grunting. And and all I can say is interesting addition. Yeah, not gonna really say much on that. Really. Um, so yes, that's on to pricing. Currently, right now, with this game being on the early access, the game is currently $7.99, $8. At this time, I can't recommend it. I didn't find anything wrong with the game. There's no errors or anything like that. Everything seems to be functioning well at the moment. And what we currently got here, I do say it's well worth the price. Anybody got any questions?
No,
I
I
just have
think
a
I'm
comment
good.
of I kind of like the art style, but I feel like the animation could be a little smoother. Like I know for this kind of game you want to have snappy animations, but it's
Yeah,
very well. It's when they like change between poses. It's very no in betweens, which is obviously intentional. But
yeah. I think it's supposed to be imitating the like the NES animations of Punch Out. I think.
yeah,
I'm
it's just that
assuming.
I just think that's a little bit jarring when you combine it with the hand drawn
Yeah, before I came to that
bizarro
realization.
cartoon art.
Yeah, before I came to that realization when I was playing the game, yeah, it did kind of bother me as well. But once I realized it, I kind of just got used to it.
Yeah, I mean it serves a purpose in terms of being able to predict where stuff is going.
Hmm. at times it does kind of work against you while you're fighting the characters. I have to admit that. Now I think about it. But but after spending some time with the game, you can kind of predict when the characters are getting ready to attack you. There's sort of a rhythm to them at times. Um, I think somebody else had a question. At least I thought I heard somebody was asking
Adam,
a
were you
question.
saying something?
No.
I said I was good.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah, yeah. At this time, I can't recommend the game for the 7.99. If you want to fight, well, if you want to do some boxing against alien creatures of various designs,
That's a very specific desire. Not gonna
I've
lie.
seen worse.
well, if you're just looking for a good boxing game, I can definitely recommend it as well. If you're looking for a good cartoony boxing game,
Mm.
so so
Right.
yeah. Overall, I did enjoy what I played of it in its current state. So yeah, that's it for me.
All right. So that'll about do it for this impressions video of Billion Beat. Um, coming up after the break, Golix will be reviewing a game called The Last Dead End.